Hi there and welcome along to another workout for you to row along to. Today I'm taking a break from filming the 2K Redux plan to do a 2-hour row. Yep, 2 hours long. I've been taking requests through the Facebook page and loads of folks want me to row for 2 hours. I think it's punishment, to be honest. But yeah, right now it's the half marathon or marathon challenge from the Concept 2 page, and a few folks just wanted a 2-hour row to row along to. So I'm obliging, so why not do it? Okay, so I will talk about pace and all that kind of stuff as we get through the main row, but really I'm just going to break it into 10-minute chunks, and I'm going to kind of go 18 strokes a minute, 20 strokes a minute, 22 strokes a minute. Then you do that 4 times over, and as if by magic, our 2 hours will be up. Okay, simple. So even though we're going to be rowing for 2 hours today, I'm still going to throw a 4-minute warm-up at you. Okay, I hope you're okay with that, but I just want to make sure that we're all eased off and we're sure about what we're going to be doing and not just jumping straight into 2 hours. So we always start off the warm-up by setting up our machine first. Now in a Concept 2, we start off by looking at our drag factor first. Now if you don't know anything about drag factor and you have a Concept 2, then please do check out the video I have on the YouTube channel. If you're using a different machine, then just set the weight or resistance of the machine so that you feel you're connecting to it, but it doesn't feel really heavy like you're rowing a cruise ship down a river, especially if you're going to be rowing for 2 hours a day, okay? Now, kind of general guide for Concept 2 is a drag factor between 115 and 130, but of course you maybe have some specific thoughts about yourself, so set it how you want it to be. Next up, go to your monitor, and if you can, set it at eye height rather than having to look up or down. And finally, set your foot straps to a point, maybe covering the bottom lace on your shoe, or at least getting you to a point where you can bend your ankles, knees, shins, hips, whatever, to get your shins pointing vertically, all right? I tried to change my little intro blurb today, but I've obviously been fluffing my lines all over the place. I'm going to just go back to what I usually say. So a 4-minute warm-up. I'm going to start at 18 strokes a minute, and our pace is really just going to be just a little bit of force through the legs, almost like you're doing a body weight squat, okay? In 3, 2, 1, let's go. Now we're going to gradually increase that pace over time, but we're not really going to go harder than 2K plus 20 pace through this warm-up. Now if you don't know what I mean by 2K plus anything, then what I want you to do at one point, if you're interested in this, is to row a 2 kilometer time trial. And then that final result, the time it takes you to row 2,000 meters, you divide the resulting time by 4. And that'll give you the average time to cover 500 meters. And that's how we describe pace in, like, mostly in the indoor rowing community. I know like CrossFit might talk about calories and all that stuff, but from an indoor rowing point of view, your 500 meter split pace is how we talk about how fast you're rowing. So if your average time works out to be 2 minutes and 5 seconds because it took you 8 minutes 20 to row 2 kilometers, then when I say 2K plus 20, that means you should be rowing at 2 minutes 25. Okay? That's all on my website and stuff. If you want to know more, there's also a video on the YouTube channel about it. Right. So, in 3 strokes time, we're going to put one leg on the floor. Okay, last one here. One leg on the floor. Continue rowing with just that one leg strapped in. And it might feel different. Your balance might be off slightly, and you might feel you're suddenly using a leg that maybe you don't push off with as much, so it'll feel actually quite, you're like, whoa, what's going on here? But that's why it's good practice. Let's change feet. But what it does is it helps with your compression to the front of the stroke, because you're not bound by 2 legs, and it slows things down, gives you a chance to really think about your movement and that press out from the front as you drive back Last stroke here. And now legs straight, row with your back and arms. So swing over your hips, pull in your arms, then push out your arms, swing back over your hips. And that swing over your hips, oh mama, it's important when it comes to all kinds of things. Power, injury prevention, fitness of your body so you don't get just worn out too quick. So much stuff. Right, roll to the front of the machine, arms straight, drive out with your legs, okay? Keep those arms straight and a forward lean and just push out with your legs. Try and hold that forward lean, arms straight, and really get that sensation of pushing out with your legs and connecting with your hands at the same time. Okay, 2 more of these. Maybe 2 more. Can we squeeze in 1 more? Come on. Just on 0. Right, slightly kind of in and out warm up today where I kind of a little bit of technique, a little bit of 2K pacing chat and whatever, but we're about to spend 2 hours together so I can go through more technique stuff and more of my chat about training and eating and motivation and whatever for the next couple of hours, okay? So, importantly, have a last chance to get some fluid into you, so have a nice drink. Not so much you're gonna have to stop this 2-hour row to go for a pee mid-row. Get some fluids in you, move up and down the rail just a little bit just to keep your legs moving, and then we'll do today's session. Okay then, so I'm hoping this isn't going to come as a surprise to you, but today we're going to be rowing for 2 hours. Okay, now I'm going to split this into 10-minute chunks and I'm going to do them at 18, then 20, then 22 strokes per minute. You do that 4 times and as if by magic, that's our 2 hours done. Now I'm going to start at 2K plus 20 pace for these 18 strokes a minute and then I'm going to go slightly faster each time I go up through the next 2 rates. But you don't have to follow me, okay? Pick whatever stroke rate and pace that you think you can do in order to get through this 2 hours. You should, if you've got the fitness in you, be able to follow me stroke rate and pace wise, but if you want to row 2 hours, just make sure you're fine for the 2 hours. However, there's also a chance that you're going to be wanting to do a half marathon with this, in which case, just set your monitor to 21,097 meters and just row along with me however pace you want, and then you can do what you want when the 21,097 is up. If I'm still rowing, just leave me be. I'll still be here rowing away. You can go and have a shower and stuff, and I'll still be talking away to myself, all right? Just do what you need to do. Have a last drink. Keep your water bottle close in case you need to have a drink mid-row. I might even show you how I do that if ever I need to, if I'm rowing a marathon or something, but that's us. Okay, so, sorry, I just completely ran out of what I was saying in that sentence. 2 hours, I'm going to start 18 strokes a minute on this first 10 minutes, okay? And don't worry about it, we're breaking into 10-minute chunks for a reason, because I'll stop saying the word 2 hours to you from now. Well, I probably will say it again. Stop rambling, John. You ready for this? Let's go then. In 3, 2, 1, go. I'm going to run out of disk space on my camera at this rate. I keep on waffling away. I think I was stalling because I was just like, hang on. This is going to be the longest outside of a full marathon anyway. The longest I'll have rowed straight for. And even then, actually, when I did the marathon, I stopped every 20 minutes to take on food and water. So, assuming I don't need to stop and run away for a comfort break, then for me, this could well be the longest single row that I've done. Now, I'm going to get to technique and stuff soon enough, don't worry, but just want to talk right now about my preparations for doing this. Obviously, it's a bit late because we're now both on the machine together rowing away, but just for future purposes, I'd say maybe you've come into this with a view to only kind of just using this as company for an hour for the time being, and you might come back to it another day for the full 2 hours. So, first thing to say is what I'm wearing. Nothing special. Just my regular fitter, faster, stronger t-shirt. My normal Under Armour shorts. And just an everyday pair of Calvin Klein boxer shorts underneath. I'm not sponsored by Calvin Klein. Even though I have the body of a model, obviously. Seriously, we're 2.5 minutes in. If you can't put up with jokes like that, this is going to be a long row for you. Anyway, 2 pairs of socks, because I row in socks. And I wear 2 pairs all the time, just to kind of help with the potential discomfort from the ridges on the foot plates. So no other reason for 2 pairs. It might help with the heel cups, I suppose. I don't tend to, especially at these stroke rates, I don't tend to yank on the foot straps, so I don't get any discomfort from the tops of my feet and the straps. But there was a reason for starting off with this chat, is that I'm not using a seat pad, I'm not sitting on a towel, I don't have a special pair of padded shorts or anything. It's just me, my backside, and the standard Concept 2 rowing seat. Right, I'm about to hit 1,000 meters, and when I do, I'm going to do a power stroke. One more stroke. Here we go. I suggest you do the same. That every time you cross the 1,000 meter mark, and then 2,000, 3,000, etc., just do a single power stroke. And then do the same every 5 minutes as well, which is coming up in 2, 1, here we go. Now, I'm not going to keep on calling them out, mostly because I'll forget. So, that can keep you occupied while I talk away to you. Is looking at your distance covered and the time gone, and every 1,000 meters give a single power stroke, and every 5-minute block give a single power stroke. And what I mean, if you don't know what that is it's just you keep it your same stroke rate, but instead of me rowing at the amount of leg push that gives me 2k plus 20 pace, I just give a good old maximum push with the legs. After all, your legs are where the power is generated from. I'm not saying a big pull with the arms. I'm saying max power push with the legs when it comes to it. I hope I didn't just talk you into doing an extra one. Now these power strokes are more than just a distraction. It's the kind of thing that when you're doing a long row like this, you can just add little speed bursts to what you're doing. So if you think about, if we do it in every 5 minutes, oh no, he's about to do maths. That means 24 of them in 2 hours, plus a power stroke every kilometre. Say we're going to cover, well, I'd assume for me maybe about 28,000. I'll see what my final distance is, but say that's 28 plus 24. That's 52. Is that right? Power strokes I can put in, which basically works out as my split pace faster. So if I am quite happily rowing along at 2:05 right now, but my power strokes take me up to 2 minutes dead, that means that I've kind of given myself 5 seconds for free. Was it? Oh, hang on, I can't work out the effort maths there. You get what I'm saying, but anyway. And this is only by throwing in one stroke every 1,005 minutes. If you, oh, I've got my next one coming up here. Go. If you do power strokes, do like a longer row, but do like 3 of them maybe, or every minute, or every 500 meters, it's a great way to just cheat in a little bit of pace that you won't notice putting in. Okay, so in just under 40 seconds time, I will increase my stroke rate to 20 strokes a minute. And then let's talk technique for a wee while. Just want to make sure you are nice and warm before I start asking you to think about what your body's doing. Okay, one more stroke. Now I'm up to 20 strokes a minute, which shouldn't really feel massively faster in terms of how fast my stroke rate's going. And hopefully, just as a result of going 2 strokes faster per minute, you should be rowing around about 1 or 2 seconds faster from a pace point of view. And that's because in order to speed up stroke rate, you have to put a slightly faster drive in and a slightly faster finish and recovery. And that makes you go faster. So, why? How? What is this magic? Well, like I said, remember, your stroke is all about push from the legs, okay? Did I just drop to 18 for a while there? I think I did. Let's go back up to 20. Come on, John. Doesn't matter if we wobble, but terribly unprofessional of me. That's better. Sorry about that. So, it's a push with the legs. And that's how you get the power into the machine. However, the power only gets in there if you do it right. I mean, I can push hard with my legs like this, and then my butt goes scooting back, and none of that power is going into the machine. And what ends up having to happen is it's all about the upper body to catch up. So butt's away, and then I have to pull with my arms. Butt, pull. You don't want to do that. So the key is that when you push with your legs, you also connect the handle to the flywheel at the same time, but you make sure that your body is in a position to send that power from your legs to your hands, because just because I connect with the flywheel, I can still mess it up and it's still not right. So how do you do that? So I'm taking an extremely long-winded way to talk to you about this. It's almost like we have some time on our hands. You going anywhere? The point is that as you push with the legs, you want your body in a position to send the power through. And that position is a forward lean, tilting over your hips, and straight arms. Okay? And that way, if you have a good, powerful posture and a braced core, as you push with the legs, all that power goes through your legs and into the machine. So it's worthwhile just having a quick kind of self-examination about what's going on. Maybe start with your arms and think, as I drive, are my arms straight, or am I picking up the handle too soon and bending those arms too soon? Which you don't want to do. And then think about your back. Are you leaning in as you get to the front of the machine? And then importantly, are you holding it there as you drive and then come through to the back of the stroke? Because it's all very good being a perfect student and having that forward lean to the front of the machine, but if you break your back or break that lean too soon, then again that power transfer from your legs into your arms is wasted. And certainly the power that you can put in with that shift of your body weight, like your upper body weight, from a forward to a backward lean. If you have already done it before you drive, you've lost all that power. It's gone, floating up into the sky, wasted. A wasted dream of what could have been. Bit too poetic, eh? But anyways, that's the point, is that if you think back to the warm-up And the drill we were doing, holding the forward lean with straight arms and just pushing out from the front. That's why we do that drill, is to really get in that feeling of leaning forward still as you drive with the legs. Now, I'm still working on this as a technique point because I know I could be leaning forwards for much longer than I do. In fact, when I was doing the Apple Fitness review and I was watching the guide from Josh, one of the instructors beforehand, and he talks through technique, how to row, and you watch him and he holds and then right at the last minute he swings, holds, swing, and you think, is that actually what you're best to do? Probably is. But yeah, so drive, hold it, drive body, and drive body arms. So that's the sequence. So make sure to drive with your legs, then swing your body, and then at the back of the stroke, that's when you finally pull in those arms to a strong finish. And I mean a strong finish. I don't want you to limp into a finish and just dump the handle down. Even for a row like this, I want you to finish strong. Squeeze those shoulder blades together. Pull the handle in up to around about sternum height. Send those elbows through your sides to get that power in. Because yeah, your arms might be the weakest part of the stroke, but they're still part of the stroke. So it's not push, don't pull, it's push, then pull. Not to have a go at my equine-based competitor, but, and he knows that too, he knows it's all just about the front of the stroke, he's not talking about the whole thing, but just to say, it's push, then pull. Right, 3 strokes to go, and then we go up to 22 strokes per minute. Last one. Alrighty. So again, just a little bit more of a push from the legs to get a slightly faster drive speed. And that should result in a higher stroke rate and then faster pace. And I said in the last time round how the recovery is important too, and it is, because as your drive speed speeds up, the release of your handle and the recovery back down the rail or beam, whatever you want to call it, is also a little bit faster, because the speed you pull the handle in, I want you to release the handle at. So you go in, out, in, out. It's not in, out, in, out. You're not scared of the handle. It's not on fire. It's your friend. You're being nice to it.
So in, out. And that increased speed from the drive then translates to the recovery. Gets the handle away quicker, your forward lean happens a little bit quicker, your recovery to the front then happens a little bit quicker, ready for your drive out the front of the machine, which is already a little bit quicker. But if you didn't have a slightly faster recovery, then what happens is you go, have to drive fast, slow, have to drive fast, slow, have to drive fast, slow. Okay? You don't want that, because that rushing drive throws your rhythm. Ideally, you want it to be a 1-to-2 ratio, where you drive for 1, recover for 2. Especially at these low stroke rates. When you get to faster stroke rates, you'll start to find it's more of a 1-to-1, but we're not doing them today, so we can ignore them. Right, so that was a good 15-minute bimble. That's a hashtag. But yeah, a 15-minute bimble about technique. Maybe not as focused as I usually am, but I'm going to slow down the rate of technique chat today because we have the option to. So if I was to continue rowing at my current pace, which I know I'm not going to, it says I'll cover just over 29,400 meters. So let's see what happens to that by the end of the row. Because you never know, I might not be able to hold on to the pace. Like I said, it's the first time I've done a 2 hours flat out. Or sorry, straight, not flat out. This is not flat out. Okay, coming up to a power stroke. Not this one, not this one, this one. Oh. Now, quick last word on them before I talk about something else. The power strokes also stop your backside just kind of going into autopilot and kind of going into that possible numb world, because it's just activating in the same way over and over again. So the power stroke kind of tightens up your backside, extra surge and boost of blood through it, and can help if you start to get those cramping feelings in your backside, which posture plays a huge part in, but I'll talk about that in a bit. If you can, maybe just shift around a little bit on the seat on the recovery. Maybe just go side to side to ease the pressure from your sit bones down onto your backside. Because like I said, I'm not wearing padded shorts. I'm not sitting on a special seat or seat pad, and I'm sitting on the standard Concept 2 seat, and as long as I keep my posture okay through this row, and I make sure to ease the pressure from time to time, then I should find I'm going to get through it easily without a sore backside. I mean, obviously, going to be taking around, hang on, what's the maths? 120 minutes, average of 20 strokes a minute. That's 2,400, is that right? 240 times 20. No, 120 times 20. 2,400. So that's 2,400 squats basically, or deadlifts. That's going to take its toll on your muscles anyway. So don't compound the problem by letting poor posture squish your backside. Right, so we're coming up on half an hour, which for many is already the golden ticket of rowing. The first time that you hit the half hour point when rowing. It's funny, I think most people start off just thinking about the rowing machine as something you can sit down on, row fast and destroy yourself by doing a max effort workout. But then the more you get used to rowing, the more time you spend rowing, researching, training, the more your goals tend to broaden a bit. And it's then not just about pace, but about longevity. Well, it was for me anyway. Right, a few more strokes, then we're going to go back down to 18. One more, down to 18. Because when I first started, I'd basically load up 2,000 meters and see how fast I could row it in. And that's really all I did for every morning before work for about 6 months. And then when I got sub 7 for the first time, that's when I went online to start looking at what else I could do. At which point the world opened up with all the different options of, can you do a 5k? Can you do 5k under 20 minutes? Can you row for half an hour? And then can you row over 8,000 meters in 30 minutes? And then 10k sub 40. An hour, first off over 15,000 meters, and then eventually, when the performance aspect kicks in, can I go over 16,000 meters. Then sub 90 half marathon, once your first half marathon's out the way. So it all goes hand in hand with each other, performance and longevity. And the thing is, there's only, well, I say few is the wrong number here, but there's only a few people that really care. If you're in a conversation with a normal and you tell them you rode over 8,000 meters in half an hour, most people will say, "That's very nice, dear." But speak to someone who does indoor rowing and trains and knows this stuff, and when you say to them, "I can go over 8,000 meters, most of them will go, "Wow, that's a great milestone. That shows you've got pace and fitness in there for rowing." It's not to say normal people don't care. They just don't have the reference. They've never tried it themselves. So they just, I don't know. I mean, I see when I'm at work and stuff, and I'm wearing like my RowAlong hoodie, people are like, "RowAlong, what's that?" And I start to tell them. And I gotta say, there's a certain point in the conversation where I can see that dead look behind their eyes, which is saying, "I wish I'd never asked." And the fun part is trying to keep the conversation going as long as you can before you see them just go, "I'm out here." And they either make an excuse and leave or change the subject. I don't do that often, but I can certainly recognize the point when I'm talking to somebody who kind of starts off interested, but by the time I start talking about 2K plus 9 pace and stuff, or the importance of technique, that's when I just see them check out. So, if that happens to you, like it does to me, or like it does to Grace, yeah, it's your fault we're doing this, you know. Then, first off, recognize that point when people switch off. But then, remember, there's a whole community of people out there who do care, who will respond, be it on Facebook, either through my RowAlong Facebook group or the Concept 2 Indoor Rowing Hub or Concept 2 Community, loads of Facebook pages where you could post a screenshot of you going 30 minutes and most people will comment, "Wow, well done." You may get the odd comment saying maybe raise the stroke rate or whatever, but on the whole, I'd say 99% of the indoor rowing community are really open to helping, to supporting and advising anyone that asks. So if you're really wanting to share and everyone around you is switching off, then look for Facebook groups or team forums, things like the Free Spirits forum. They're a great team, really chatty and helpful. Or even just the Concept 2 forum at c2forum.com. And then you start to get into their world as well. And like, I had no idea about the various online challenges that were on option, like the cross-team challenge or non-athlon or even the Concept 2 monthly challenges. No idea whatsoever. And then you start looking into them. Maybe at that point you want to join a team like the aforementioned Free Spirits or Fitness Matters, Sub 7, Diamonds, which I think of off the top of my head. There are a good 50 different teams out there. Just go to the Cross Team Challenge page, c2ctc.com, and you'll see a list of all the teams that row in it. If any of them float your boat, then seek them out, ask to join, and then what you'll find is that real team spirit stuff. And it must be said, there is great motivation when it comes to this sport, being in a team. Because in the most part, this is just you on your own. Especially if you don't row with somebody, you're in the gym or at home, then that online team camaraderie and support can really push you to things you didn't think you could achieve, because you're trying to help support your team. I know it did for me when I first joined Free Spirits. I rowed faster than I ever had before. Right, one more stroke. I'm going to go back up to 20s. Here we go. I hope you're keeping track of when you should be doing your power strokes. Just because I'm not calling them out doesn't mean you're allowed to forget about them. But yeah, so you might not have people around you who are particularly interested in what you're doing in the rowing machine, or even they're interested but they're not quite responding how you need them to, in which case forums, Facebook and teams are the way to go. Okay, so we're past the 40-minute mark. Hopefully you're getting on okay. Now remember what I said before about hydrating, where if you feel you need a drink, take a drink. Okay, there's no, especially on a training row like this, there's no medals to be one for suffering your way through a 2-hour row completely dehydrated. I remember watching some kind of sports documentary years ago, and it was about, or there was a part of it talking about an American wrestling coach who used to make his junior wrestlers train completely dehydrated, in the view that if you could train and perform well when dehydrated, then when you're hydrated, you'll perform even better. Massively flawed concept, if you ask me. Yes, there's an element of needing to know what it's like to be dehydrated and pushing through, but you also need to know what your body is capable of when it's at 100%, and to be able to recognize the slip as you head towards dehydration. We're lucky as rowers because you'll most likely see that on your monitor first. That slip in pace. It might be that it starts off, that slip, from just fatigue and your technique slipping, but eventually, if dehydration sets in, you'll also just find you can't hold the pace quite as comfortably or as well as before. A quick word on hand comfort here as we approach almost 45 minutes. Make sure, if you can, have nice open palms with your fingers just hooked over the handle. Not only will your hooked fingers have less chance to cause blisters, but those open palms will also allow airflow around your hands, which will help when it comes to moisture. Power stroke. Which basically, when your hands get really wet, I think about if you've been in the bath too long and your hands start to prune and how soft your skin is. And I don't know if you've ever cut yourself after a bath, but it's really easy because your skin is so soft. Well, it's the same here. If your hands and the handle are soaking wet because of sweat, then it'll be like you're pruning the insides of your fingers. And then any friction, irritation from the aforementioned 2400 strokes is more likely to cause a blister. Now sometimes what I'll do is I'll take a period where, as I return the handle, I'll only hold it with my index fingers and my thumb very loosely underneath. So I can keep my whole hand open to let that air get in. And also, that movement of your hand also helps if your fingers start to cramp. I definitely have suspect pinky fingers that, for whatever reason, through a row they start to get quite sore. Whew. So yeah, moving, play the piano on the handle. But remember, that's not at expense of good technique. I still want that handle away and over your knees before you bend them. So handle away, straight arms, hinge over your back, then bend your knees. Especially as we come up to 48 minutes. At this stage, maybe fatigue can start to set in, and that posture and rock over your hips can often be one of the first things to go, where fatigue sets in and you start to just crumple like a floppy sausage. Try not to do that. Get the pace back up. There we go. Yeah. Hopefully, if you're rowing at a manageable pace, and I mean, at this stage, even if you've had to back off 2 seconds or so in order to carry on rowing, that's fine. Remember, you may be in completely uncharted territories here, where you're just along for the ride, having never rowed this long before. So if you have to adjust your pace to get through it, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're rowing a half marathon for time, try and push through. This is a time trial, then it is going to be on the harder side. It's a trial, not an easy row. Right, last stroke. Let's go up to 22 again. I'll try and hold 22 better this time. Saw quite a few 21s last time. So, I don't have anything showing. Oh, I do. So, as we get 50 minutes in here, my watch is telling me that I've burned 444 calories. So, let's say another what? Maybe like 80 calories. I'll try and remember to check it again. But maybe I'll break 500 in an hour. And that's a good thing for me today, because I had not only one of the most yummiest cakes today from a shop in Glasgow called the Three Sisters Bake. It was a toffee apple crumble cake. And I only had a third of it. The next 2/3 are waiting for me after dinner tonight. Which is good, because I figure in the process of today's row, we ran about 1,000 calories just from rowing, but also a couple of hundred calories from being alive, and then maybe another couple of hundred for the kind of metabolic afterburn that happens post row, which as being I had my breakfast of champions today, and I combined that with the cake and the pancetta gnocchi I'm having tonight. It's quite important. The thing is, I actually, before starting today's row, I did a intro for a future video about the guaranteed way to lose weight on the rowing machine. It's a little bit tongue-in-cheek because what I've done is I weighed myself before starting today's row, which, as being I was clothed, it was post-lunch, post-cake, and I'd consumed quite a lot of water to get through this row. Well, so I weighed 79 kilograms, which is still massively over lightweight, but it'll do. And the point is, I'll weigh myself afterwards, and just due to sweat, I'm sure I'll have lost 1 or 2 kilograms. And that's the only guaranteed way that rowing will make you lose weight. However, and this is the point of the video that I'll eventually make, rowing is fantastic at burning energy, of just burning calories off. And especially as it's such a low impact sport, once you get the technique right and get past any muscle aches and things, and you can row longer and longer, and importantly, use your whole body instead of just your upper body or just a light tickle with your legs. You can really just torch through calories, which, if you look at losing weight purely from a energy calculation, if you can use up more energy than you take in, your body has to find it somewhere. And usually your body will find it by getting energy by burning fat, or at least getting the fat, converting that to glycogen and burning that. So if you use rowing as part of a calorie controlled weight loss program, it can work for you. The downside, of course, being, like I say, a row today for me will be around about 1,000 to 1,500 calorie burn. And I tend on a normal weekday to only eat about 2,000 calories a day. And you'd think, well, there's 3,000 calories to a pound. If I kept that up, eat 2,000, my body will burn about 2,500 calories a day just being alive. So I'm already 500 calories in deficit. Add on a 1,500 calorie row. Within a week, that's what, 14,000 calories. That's nudging 5 pounds weight loss. Well, hey, however, I'd get 2 days into that and would be absolutely exhausted and probably suffer quite badly from an exhaustion point of view. So, as much as you can get suckered in to the maths, actually, you need to remember your body's also an engine, and if you start running on fumes, or worse, think of it as the oil. If you run out of oil in the engine, everything's going to start grinding, falling apart, and your engine will shut down on you. So, yes, a row like this will torch loads of calories, but I also need to be mindful that I still want to train tomorrow. So I still only want to hold a maximum of 500 calorie deficit per day. Okay, 2 more strokes. 1 more stroke. And that is an hour done. Well done. Back to 18s. Just take a moment to settle in, both physically and mentally, because it may well be that as you saw that 1 hour marker pop up, you were getting quite motivated and excited. But now you're still left with all of that to do again. So you have to prepare yourself to row for another hour, which is fine. This is why we're breaking the row down into chunks. So apart from the idiot on the YouTube channel who keeps on telling you you had 2 hours, you now have an hour, you really only need to look ahead 10 minutes at a time. and just think, okay, 10 minutes at 18 strokes per minute. And then I'll go up again. And remember, like I say, be smart about your pace. Ooh. I've certainly dropped a second off my pace as I went into this 18s. Partly physical, partly mental. I'm sure on the next 18s, I'll go back to the 2K plus 20. So yeah, so keep an eye on your pace and don't panic and don't worry, okay? I'm trying to give you a realistic pep talk here. I'm not gonna throw platitudes at you and say, hey, you've got this, you're doing amazingly well, because frankly, I have no idea how you're doing. All I know is there's definitely a mental stimulus to hit that 1 hour mark that then is replaced by, all right, I still have an hour to go. But as long as you've got your pacing right and you've got nice open palms to keep your hands from getting sore, you're making sure every now and then to adjust your seat on your seat, and you're trying to maintain your stroke technique. You should get through this. As long as you're confident about your fitness. Now again, sometimes on some of the tougher rows, I'll talk about how if I can talk while rowing at the same relative pace as you, then you should be able to manage it. But this is a slightly different beast, because the will certainly hit a point where it's probably the longest that you've rowed for a wee while. So I don't know how you're getting on. I'm just pleased that you're still getting on. Sometimes it's not how far you go, it's how go you far. If that makes sense. If you're staying strong, sensible, sticking to your plan, and you know you can get to the end, then it doesn't matter whether I hit that 29,000 mark I was on about, which right now doesn't look like I will. It's actually just about, did I keep strong and positive and powerful? Because what it means is that the next time I do a long row, say if I come back and do 1 hour 40 next, then I'll know, well, I can row 2 hours. An hour 40, that's a walk in the park. Walk in the park can sometimes be preferential But again, a walk in the park, I then have to feel guilty about a huge slice of apple cake. Now, I'm not saying that you can out-train a bad diet, but you can certainly work against the odd indulgence. I mean, proof in point, really. So, for the past, say, 6-7 months, for various reasons, I've not been quite as on it for diet and kind of alcohol intake and stuff. I'll kind of just let it come and go as I please. Sometimes I wouldn't drink anything over a weekend. Sometimes I'd end up drinking an entire bottle of red wine. In one night. So I've not really been on it. And you may have seen in the videos how sometimes I'm looking thinner than other times. And that's really down to what I'm doing with my diet. My training hasn't changed any. I still row the same sessions, or same number of sessions, sorry, 3 or 4 times a week. I add in 2 bike sessions as well, and if there's time, I'll add in a couple of ski erg sessions too. And I've been doing that all through this. But the difference really is down to what I'm eating, the quality of what I'm eating, when I'm eating. That's a big one too. But it really must be said, what I'm drinking made a huge difference. And bizarrely, I'm not just talking about booze. I've finally worked out how to drink black coffee in a way that I enjoy it, which is using Starbucks coffee grounds and an AeroPress and vanilla flavouring. Right, one more stroke. Up to 20s, power stroke. Here we go. So, before I was doing intimate fasting. What was that? I'll try some of that, please. Intermediate fasting, where I wouldn't eat after 9 o'clock at night, and then wouldn't eat until 1 o'clock the next day. Sometimes that slipped by an hour, but I'd always leave that 16-hour window between. However, previously, I was still drinking coffee with milk and 1 sugar. And I'd have about 4 or 5 of them before I had anything to eat for lunch. So it didn't really count as fasting, really. Fair enough, no food, but certainly the sugar was undoing what you would normally call a fast. But now that I'm on black coffee and vanilla drops with no sugar, it's a real fast. And I can so tell the difference, not just in fat loss and stuff, but in energy. You wouldn't have thought that stopping eating for 16 hours would give you more energy, but it really does. Well, it does me. And then I'll just eat well in the 8 hours. I'll try and watch what I eat, but I'll still have pasta for dinner, and I'll have maybe a couple of digestive biscuits. I know, quite sad that that's a treat. But then the last thing I'll have is peanut butter on toast, usually, with a big mug of hot chocolate, which is quite a lot of carbs to take in. So I'm doing all that, and it seems to be working for me this time around, because I'm no longer trying to out-train a poor diet filled with sugar, beer, cakes, all that kind of stuff. So I think I was maybe breaking even from time to time, and then the scales would tip 1 week towards putting on weight, and then the next week I'd lose a bit. But really, the point of this is to say that you need to look at what you're doing with your body, and then, more importantly, what your body responds to. Now, this 16-8 intermediate or intimate fasting that I'm doing definitely works for me. But your body is your body. Your gender will make a difference. Your job, how active you are, will make a difference. The state of your insides, your gut biome, will make a difference. So it's the same with anyone that gives you a plan that will tell you to lose weight, is that they're just, most of them, trying to make money out of you. And whether or not what they're selling worked for them, what they're trying to sell you usually is a quick and easy, non-suffering way to lose weight. And to be honest, I don't think there's such a thing. There has to be an element either of not eating the kind of foods that you want to eat, or not eating at times you want to eat, or I don't know, they're the two biggies really, aren't they? There isn't another or. But like I say, if someone tells you you must cut carbs to lose weight, maybe it worked for them, maybe it will work for you, but you have to investigate what your body responds to. And a lot of times, calories in versus calories out makes a huge difference. And then food choice comes down to how quickly you take those calories in. If you eat 5 donuts, well, that's likely most of your day's calorie intake. But if you eat a couple of nice chicken breasts, that's probably only a quarter of your calorie intake. And because it's protein and it fills you up, it probably staves off hunger a little bit longer. Anyway, sorry, kind of went off on one there. Right, so, not that I need to drink, but as we're approaching 1 hour 20, I want to show you what I do if I do need to drink. So my water bottle is down next to my feet. This is what I do. Hang on. Right, hold the middle. Still. Whoa. And down. So, yes, I fell right off the pace there. I was down at 2:35, when I'm looking to be between 2:03 and 2:05. But the important part was keeping the flywheel spinning even a little bit by still taking a stroke and pulling with the one hand that was still holding the handle. Okay, so coming up to our next rate change. Do a quick overview on your body. Is there anything tweaking? You okay to increase stroke rate? I can feel my right hamstring niggling a bit. We'll see if going a little bit faster helps. 2, 1, let's go up to 22s. Right, so let's talk posture, because like I said last time round, this is likely to be the first thing that goes when you start to get a little bit on the tired side. So I've said that the important part of the stroke is to be leaning in at the front with nice straight arms. And you want to be in that position, but you want to be up on your sit bones, okay? You don't want to be tucked under and kind of leaning in like Gollum, okay? Not this. It's the benefit of the video people. Sorry, podcast people. You have to imagine Gollum rowing. So, up on your sit bones at the front with a braced core, powerful posture, not bolt upright like a door. not rigid, but braced, primed and ready. Head looking straight ahead. Maybe the top line of your Concept 2 monitor, and then keep looking at that as you drive with that forward lean and straight arms, and hopefully it'll help you maintain that position and posture halfway through the rowing stroke, or until halfway through the leg drive at least. And then once you get halfway through your leg drive, that is when you swing your back from the forward lean to the backward lean, and then pull the handle in to your chest at around sternum height. But the important thing is to continue that powerful posture through to the back of the stroke. So again, you don't crumple and collapse at the back. You want to be powerful with your sit bones still connected to the seat. You're not tucking your tailbone underneath you. You're still staying primed and ready, so that this hip rock, as you hinge forwards and backwards, is simple, and you're not trying to kind of undo a bad posture. And the big clue, or some of the big clues, let's say, for bad posture are you having to throw the handle over your knees as you return? Woohoo! If so, that's because of poor posture. Your tailbone is tucked underneath you, and your knees are popping up too soon, i.e. before the handle is past them. And the huge culprit for that is tugging your feet on the foot straps. Did you do your power stroke? So if you tug your feet on the foot straps, your knees instantly pop up and your tailbone tucks under. But the other clue is if you are whacking the seat off your heels, chances are you're coming in lying backwards and you're doing this. Sorry, podcast people, but so think about it for a while. Are your knees popping up and you have to throw your handle over, or is the seat whacking off your heels? If so, your good posture that you started off with has kind of collapsed on you. So try and think about being up on those sit bones. And there's 3 reasons for that. power, in terms of efficiency. Fatigue prevention, in that rowing in a poor posture is going to tire you out and likely cause a sore backside, because your sit bones are rolling over and squashing your glutes when your tailbone tucks under and your hips roll back. But then also just sheer injury prevention, not just from a sore butt point of view, but if you are like this, everything is going through your lower back. And trust me, pain would be in your future. I think, to be honest, I've said it before, but most people who say they don't enjoy rowing because it hurts, I'm going to guess it's because they've got poor posture, and therefore they get a sore backside from rowing, but also a sore back. But then sometimes there's just no one around either to show them what to do, or who knows to show them what to do. I mean, the amount of gyms I've been to where the PTs have absolutely no idea when it comes to rowing, and they're giving people the most hideous technique advice or general rowing advice. Nothing else. They insist on always trying to talk to you, have a conversation, and not let the rower concentrate on actually rowing. Ooh. Okay, so got 40 seconds, and then we're into our last change up section, which is good. Don't know about you, but I'm starting to look forward to the end. Right, just take your time to ease into the 18s. One more stroke, and then 18s. Hopefully your heart rate will come down a bit now. Mine was nudging 160, which is about 85% of maximum, which is quite high for one of these long, slow, fitness boosting rows, but it's to be expected that an hour and a half in, cardiac drift happens. So my watch is telling me I've only got 10% power. Is it going to last out? So got half an hour to go, and it's saying 800, just over 800 calories burned just from rowing. So divide that by 3. What's 3 into 2.6? So figure another 250, which would, yeah, take me up to about 1100 calories from rowing, plus 200 calories just for being alive. So that's a good workout. I think I'll have earned my cake. And even if I hadn't stopped drinking, I would have earned a beer as well. I've actually just started trying to check out 0 calorie beer, because what I realized was that I was using alcohol as like a trigger to say it was the weekend. So Friday night, along with my spaghetti, I'd have a couple of beers or a couple of glasses of wine, but purely because I wasn't drinking during the week, I would know that it was the weekend because I was drinking. So I thought, well, maybe you don't need the alcohol part. Maybe all you need is something that you don't consume any other time in the week. And it could be orange squash or Ribena, if it wasn't for the fact I drank them anyway. I just thought, you know what, why not try no alcohol beer and just see if that kind of, from a psychosomatic point of view, did the same trigger. I was doing that last night, and I have to say, I think it worked. I think the first one, I was thinking, oh, I'm sure a real beer would taste better, but eventually the trigger side of it kicked in, and it just felt like the weekend. I mean, to be fair, the spaghetti bolognese on a Friday triggers the weekend, but it did go hand in hand with a glass of wine or beer. So anyway, and if nothing else, it's like 100 calories for a can of Brewdog Punk alcohol free versus, what about 300 calories for a bottle of San Miguel. So we'll see. Like I said from the weigh-in before I started this row, I'm a little bit on the heavy side right now, so I could do with being a bit more controlled with the junk that goes in, and at least making sure the junk that goes in is not some mindless, self-fulfilling thing, which beer kind of is. You have one, the seal is broken, you go back for another one until you've had enough. Can almost guarantee once I've had this toffee and apple crumble cake tonight, I'm going to feel sick and not want another one. Oh, it's nice to see We're in the low 20s. Hope you're getting on fine, whether you're coming up to finishing a half marathon or whether you're sticking with me for the full 2 hours. We're almost there. I'm still going to tag on a 2-minute cool down on the end, because every session still needs a cool down, be it for physical reasons, just to let your body ease down, or for mental reasons, to just decouple with what will have been quite an intense workout, no matter how you pace it. Whether you stayed at your initial pace from the start, or whether, like me, you've backed off a couple of seconds. Oh, feel like you can see the finish line, even though it's still 21 minutes away. But this kind of goes back to what I was saying about reasons to train, is that it doesn't matter what other people think, what they say in response to what you're doing. It doesn't matter whether you're rowing fast or slow compared to the person next to you. What matters is what you get out of it. Be that motivation to perform, which is a huge part of why I row, be it health and fitness, which some people just know how good this is for them, and so row just to have this as the element of a raised heart rate and physical activity, or just whether it comes down to vanity. Right, one more stroke and then up to 20s. Here we go. Power stroke. Because vanity comes in two forms from rowing. The first is, like I say, the amount of calories that you burn. If you're also eating sensibly, you should notice that you're losing fat. I'm careful there not to say weight, because there's also a good chance that as you grow fitter, faster and stronger, you are adding muscle too. So you could be dropping that fat, but your legs are getting leaner, adding muscle. Your arms getting stronger, your back, your lats, and then your pecs at the front will all be working hard as you row. So you might not be losing weight on the scales, but hopefully that vanity trigger when you look in the mirror, which, unless you're trying to hit an actual weight for a race or something, that's what it's all about. It's about looking in the mirror, fitting into clothes. That's the vanity side. If I could put on the muscle to look like Hugh Jackman in the Wolverine, then I'd throw my scales out the window and never race as a lightweight again. I'd be quite happy from a vanity point of view. I think my wife would do as well if I looked like Hugh Jackman. Which then comes into goals. What are your goals? Why are you doing this? Now, it could be that you're just in the health and fitness camp. You're doing this just to keep fit, and that is motivation enough that you know that rowing 3 or 4 times a week is keeping you healthy, keeping things like type 2 diabetes at bay and all that stuff. But then maybe you've got a pair of jeans you want to get into. I know last year, in the middle of the worst part of lockdown, when I was eating and drinking way too much, I went on a nice summer walk with the kids and went to put on my favourite pair of cargo shorts for the walk and couldn't fasten the button. And I mean, not just sucking in my stomach, not quite able to fasten. I mean, sucking in my stomach and there was still a good couple of inches between button and hole. And that really lit a fire under me to start being a bit more sensible and structured. So I stopped eating as much chocolate and cakes, or I mean, I think at that point I was drinking quite a lot midweek too. I took lockdown quite badly. I mean, listen, the video evidence is up on YouTube. If you look at the original 2K plan, you can see me getting bigger and bigger, and then through the back end of the 2K plan and into the 5K plan, you can see it starting to drop off again, because I was suddenly motivated to eat well and take care of myself more. Like I said, the rowing never really changed. I was still doing the same amount, but everything that came with it, nutrition and sleep and stuff, that changed. But then there's the motivation to perform. And that can be a great driving factor to get you coming back and back. I mean, going back to the 8,000 meters in half an hour threshold, I was floating at round about 7,900 for months. Just couldn't increase it. But the motivation to train and to practice those fast half-hour sessions, that's what got me there in the end, and why I was able to break through it. But then once I got through it once, it's incredible how easy it was to do it again. How much of it was a mental barrier. You can't underestimate the power of the mind. And it works the other way too, especially for performance, where if your only motivation comes from a performance-based, then suddenly, when, for whatever reason, maybe injury or time away, lack of training, whatever, if your performance drops off and you're finding it hard to get back to that performance again, then instead of being a great motivator, well, what you'll find is that your performance goals are actually going to demotivate you as they slip away from you. Because at one point, my big motivator was to try to break 3 minutes for a 1K. And that was why I trained as hard as I could. And then I had a pretty bad accident with a knife. Kept me off the machine. And I've never been able to train as hard since. 2 strokes, 1 stroke, up to 22s, final 10 minutes. Woohoo! But yeah, indirectly, those couple of months off the machine because of cutting my hand then meant when I was able to train again, I went out too hard, too soon, and that is where my shoulder injury came. Probably because I was going too hard and because it was my left hand that had cut. I was probably doing more work with my right arm at too heavy a load, and that's where whatever this recurring niggle came from. So think about your reasons why you're motivated to row, but don't be a slave to them. Things change, life moves on. So right now, You're my motivation. I don't mean that in a trite way. I mean, there's no way I would have done a 2-hour row today if it wasn't for Grace and a few others asking for a 2-hour row. I may have sat down to do it, but at that hour mark where my brain struggled a bit, I may have thrown in the towel. But I continued rowing because of you. I do all these sessions a week because of you. I keep up the pace. I certainly improve my cardio system because I'm talking to you. And every time that I think, oh, I just can't be bothered today, I just think of you. It doesn't matter whether you're Ken or Grace or Sharita or Scott, any of the usual guys. Apologies for missing out any of you. There's loads of you, but even if I just thought about you being someone who is looking for a reason to stay on the rowing machine and types in RowAlong workout or whatever, and up pops my cheeky face and maybe a session that you think, well, I could do that. Well, giving you that option, putting that in front of you so that it's there for you, and knowing I might help you. That's why I keep making these. I mean, if you look at the viewing figures I get for most of my videos, most people will probably think, why does he bother? Within a week, I'll get about 300 views, and then it'll maybe within 6 months creep into 1,000. Apart from the odd power stroke, the odd video that has snuck away and has like 40,000, but if I compare my rows to British Rowing, Eric Murray, Shane, Austin, they get way more views than me. But the truth is, I honestly think that the 300 odd people who do come to row with me are people who respond to what I do rather than these other folks. And I will happily carry on doing this for years just for that select 300 odd people who are constantly coming back. Okay, we're sub 4. We're under 80 strokes to go. So now is a good time for platitudes. if you've made it through the past 117 minutes almost, then I know you have the next 3 in you. It's only 66 strokes from now. If you're following along with me, gotta say, I've pretty much held that 160 beats per minute, 85% heart rate for about an hour 40 of this, which I think is a good sign that it hasn't really drifted up into max territory. And again, I kind of do figure that talking to you the whole way through does juice my heart rate up by 5 to 10 beats. 2 minutes. I know I said I wouldn't give you time shout outs, but I think these last 3 minutes are quite important. Don't let your technique slip here. Just carry on rocking over your hips from that forward lean to the backward lean. Nice straight arms at the front as you drive with the legs. Keep that posture up. Make sure the force is still coming from your legs. We're almost done. All right, 1 minute to go. Oh, it's nice to see the clock count down in seconds now. Finish how you want to. Cross that line. Hopefully, if you were pacing your half marathon to 2 hours, you're close. Even if you haven't already finished it, and hopefully you won't have much longer to go. All right, 10 seconds to go. Woo! 2 more strokes. Last stroke. Apologies if you are continuing to row. Take a moment, unstrap, wiggle your backside. Yeah, so 28,000, just under 20,600 meters. So average pace was 2:06, because I did drop off a wee bit on that back hour because I knew I wouldn't have been able to hold it. Mostly because I've just been doing no reel longer than, say, 40 minutes. So in order to try and hit that proper pace, I'd have to do a few of them. So, but I will do a few of them to try and hold one, maybe do the 140 one at a bit more of a faster pace. We'll see. Drink. Don't really take too much in, because remember I said I want to weigh myself afterwards. Right. I'm gonna pick up erg zone, load up, try and find where my 2 minute cool down is, because I didn't put this in the workout that'll end up on erg zone. There we go, there it is. I could still do that. I might do 2. I might just do a 2 hour on its own and then give you a 2 hour with everything. Oh, my PM's just crashed on me. Oh, let's see if that starts. I do hope that's saved. That would be disappointing. Right. cool down in 3, 2, 1, go. Ooh. Now, this is back to how we started the warm-up, okay? So really all I want you to do is connect your legs and arms, okay? So it's almost just like a body weight squat, as though you were just standing up. My pace right now is 2K plus 50. So really gentle. I can feel my fingers are a little bit sore on the handle, but not blistered, just a little bit sore just from that pressure point. My hamstring, I never really did play up again, so that's fine. But again, you'll notice I did all of that without a seat pad, without special shorts, without a towel, and didn't once complain about butt pain. I talked to you about it just so that you knew about it, but I didn't say, oh, my backside's starting to get sore. So I think, well, as far as proof goes, I'd say that was proof that you don't need a seat pad. I think your technique may lead you to think that one will help, and it may help you, but I'd say before spending money on a seat pad, look at your technique first. I mean, I suppose it depends. Does having a big bottom make it worse or better? I don't know. Anyway, let's not talk about each other's bottoms. Ugh, that's the 2 minutes done. Very much a limp in. I mean, I finished at 2K plus 1 minute then, just to try and just ease everything down, just to make sure that the body just kind of went, kind of decouple from that row. So there we go. So that was our 2 hour row. Bit of an odd ramble through time for 2 hours, talking a bit about diet, a bit about technique, a bit about motivation, a bit about who to speak to and all that kind of stuff. But hopefully that kept you entertained enough to get through that 2 hours. And you've come out with a great finish. Like I said, what was I, 28,600 something I finished. So let me know how far you got on. And all that really is left to say is the hashtag, which let's just have hashtag 120, so 120, because it's a great accomplishment for a lot of us to just row 2 hours non-stop. Like I say, even when I was doing the marathon, I stopped every now and then to stretch and whatever, so that's the longest. I've been rowing for years, and that's the longest single session I've done without getting off the machine. So we should all be very proud of ourselves, is all I'm saying. So do take care of yourself. Make sure and stretch. This is very important now, is make sure and stretch, because otherwise you're going to cramp up and you'll be in bed tonight and you'll go, oh, my leg. So stretch, have something to drink, preferably something that's going to be isotonic. Has a little bit of sugars, a little bit of salts in it to try and replenish your system. Eat well and all that kind of stuff. And that's it, we're done. So thank you very much for spending the past 2 hours and a bit with me. I will see you in the next video. Please stay safe, be well. Bye-bye.